Great. So I'd like to call our first panelist, currently the Assistant Data Commissioner Director Enforcement at the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. Please help me appreciate Bridgette Ndong as she comes forward. An advocate of the High Court and passionate about privacy, data protection, technology, and law. Our next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is the Associate Director, KPMG. Please help me appreciate Moses Kipchirchir as he comes to join us on the panel. An experienced IT professional with over 13 years of experience. Our next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is a board member at the Association of Fintechs in Kenya. Please help me appreciate Mary Mwangi as she comes to join us on the panel. Yet again, an experienced CEO with a demonstrated history in ICT. Our next panelist is the head of Cybersecurity, Policy, Strategy, and Standards, NC4. Please help me appreciate Dr. David Njoga as he comes forward, a highly accomplished and knowledgeable professional. And also on the panel, ladies and gentlemen, is the Regional Marketing Manager at ESET Africa. Please help me appreciate Michelle Kuria as she comes to join us on stage, an accomplished marketer, strategic planner, and to moderate, Makofia Michelle tafadhali as she comes forward. And to moderate this session, ladies and gentlemen, is the head of Data Governance, Digital Transformation Center, GIZ. Please help me appreciate Mwenda Tevin as he comes forward, a tech and policy lawyer that is best placed to guide this conversation. Welcome, Tevin and the panel. Glad to have you here.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. For us, it's like our panel is a follow-up from where Bob left when he asked how many of you trust the government and how many of you trust the private sector and how many of you trust Kipchirchir, for example. So we are going to be talking about that. And with me I have a distinguished panel. And before we dive right into the topic, so the topic today is fostering a secure and resilient digital economy. I'll give each of my panelists, starting from Michelle, 1 minute to introduce themselves and what they do.
My name is Michelle Kuria. I'm the Regional Marketing Manager at ESET East Africa. Allow me to do, since today's Thursday, a little bit of a throwback Thursday. Well, we are the company behind Node 32, and just like you, we have evolved and grown. ESET is a global cybersecurity solutions provider. We've been in the East African market for about 8 years now, and globally we've been in business for about 30 years. I handle all their marketing and communications across the East African region. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. Not to say that to you, but I was introduced. Now, my name is Dr. David Njoga. I am the head of Cybersecurity, Strategy, Policy, and Standards at the National Computer and Cybercrimes Coordination Committee. And for those who don't know about NC4, NC4 is constituted or is established under the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, Chapter 79C, Laws of Kenya, as the only body mandated to coordinate matters cybersecurity in Kenya. We are discussing internet, and internet is owned by all of us, and nobody in particular. A lot of things are happening, so we are mandated to coordinate all the initiatives that secure the cyberspace of the Republic of Kenya. We have been in existence since 2018, and we are domiciled at the Ministry of Interior and National Coordination. The chairman of the committee is the principal secretary, Ministry of State Department for Internal Security and National Administration, whose greetings I deliver to you in this forum. Now, we are mandated, like I mentioned, to coordinate all the matters of cybersecurity. We also advise the National Security Council on matters cybersecurity, cybercrimes. We also develop national frameworks for securing the national cyberspace. So I think we'll delve more into that, but I am an evangelist. I saw the KeIGF CEO talk about so much, but at NC4 we say cybersecurity is national security. Thank you.
Hello. Okay. My name is Mary Mwangi. I am a board member at the Associations of Fintechs in Kenya. The Association of Fintechs in Kenya is an organization that looks after the interest of fintechs within the country and also works in collaboration with the regulators and other key players in the industry. That is one part of what I do. The other part is I'm the CEO and co-founder of Data Integrated. Data Integrated is a company that is a fintech, and it's also a company that builds solutions in the ecosystem, mainly to aggregate for small businesses and mainly within the public transport sector in Kenya. So we digitize and automate matatus and anything in the transport sector mainly.
Good afternoon. My name is Moses Kipchirchir. I'm an associate director at KPMG. Most of you might know KPMG as an audit firm, but we are also a huge consulting firm. So I work in the consulting practice, and my area of specialization is in technology risk and cybersecurity, and we offer a range of services from assessments to implementation of solutions, also advisory around data privacy and other practices. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bridgette Ndong. I'm the Assistant Data Commissioner at the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. I'm in charge of enforcement. I don't think I want to ask anyone whether they know who ODPC is. I bet we have all interacted with the office. The mandate of the office is really to regulate the processing of personal data, provide for the rights of data subjects, obligations of data controllers, and the general processing of personal data of Kenyan data subjects. And of course, in so doing, we receive complaints, we create awareness, we have programs on awareness, compliance, encouraging compliance, etc. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with the STEAM panel and with the attendees. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you can see, we have a stellar panel and a good mixture of people who can explain to us or expound on how do we build a secure and a resilient digital economy that, because if we're able to do that now, we create the trust that was raised in the previous panel. And with that, I think we'll just dive into the questions for today. And we'll start with you, Moses. So the plan of our panel today is we are coming from general to specific. And now we'll start with you, Moses. And we've seen that Kenya appears to have taken a digital first trajectory at the moment. It's like we've decided digital is going to pivot every aspect of our economy. And in light with that, then my question is then, what are these emerging threats and challenges that the Kenya digital economy and internet ecosystem are facing, given that it's the trajectory that we want to take?
Thank you, Tevin. It's true that Kenya has taken a digital first approach to its economy, and we've seen that the digital economy and the internet ecosystem has grown rapidly in the last 20 years. And with that rapid growth, there are challenges and threats that we see. I've had speaker after speaker, as mention that we have critical national infrastructure, either being delivered on technology or operating on technology. If you look at, our payment systems, even other critical national infrastructure such as the ports, our financial system, they are running on technology. So one of the biggest threats that we see is a rise in cyber attacks. We saw that last year, especially when there was a denial of service attack on eCitizen. We hear reports of ransomware attacks from private organizations, government organizations, here at home and abroad. So that is one of the biggest challenges that we will continue to see. And in fact, if you look at the global risk profile, the World Economic Forum says, cybersecurity or cyber attacks will continue to be one of the top 10 risks going into 2030. So this is an area where even as we grow our systems and as we develop our digital economy, we need to make investments to address cyber attacks. The second part, and I'm glad we had panelists here before us who went into the length on digital literacy and digital inclusion. And I think on literacy, there are efforts around especially looking after our vulnerable groups, the old, the marginalized. There are parts of this country where government services don't get. So digital literacy is going to be very important to grow that. Beyond that, there is inclusion, which is not just about the marginalized group. There is an economic aspect to it. Can our populations, are they able to afford internet services, even if it is available in those geographies and locations? So that is another challenge that we have to address. There is regulatory and legal challenges, and this is where a balance has to be struck between innovation and the regulation itself. So the regulation should not be stifling innovation, but we also have to put measures in place to ensure that our innovation is not advancing in a way that brings harm to society. And that areas around adoption of AI and the many technologies that we see. Still within the regulations, there have been laws that have been passed, including the data protection laws. There is a Cybercrime Act of 2018. That law needs enforcement. And to be able to enforce, we need to scale the law enforcement, especially on cybercrime. We need to scale our judiciary system to be able to adjudicate cybercrime as well. We do have online content and misinformation, and I think this is continues to be a big challenge. We are a free country. We are able to post what we can on social media sites and other platforms. This information is consumed, and it may be harmful to the population. We talked about children getting access to the internet. There's a lot of content in the internet that might not be suitable for different populations. So how is content moderation done? How is misinformation gapped going forward? Finally is on emerging technologies. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, we are seeing a rise, advancement of AI and adoption as well. Are we able to regulate these technologies? Can we use them responsibly? And then are we able to put it to use in a way that is beneficial to the society? So I would say in a nutshell, these are some of the bigger challenges and threats to the digital economy.
Thank you very much. And for all our speakers, I'll be giving you maximum 5 minutes due to the time constraints. And just to pick up from what Moses has said, perhaps David, I'll now come to you. There are 2 things that he has said that have stood out in terms of the threats. One of them being cybersecurity, and he's given an example of how last year we saw that eCitizen was attacked, and at the moment, one of the panelists from CS said we currently have close to 12,000 services on eCitizen and more to come. So eCitizen is starting to, it's just an example of one of the many critical government services that are now being digitized and are going online. So in light of that, my question was, what are the at national level and maybe even at county level, cybersecurity strategies and initiatives being implemented to protect the ecosystem? Because we've seen attacks happening to countries like what happened to Estonia some years back.
Thank you, Tevin, for that observation, and my colleague for that. Alluded to the fact that the digital ecosystem is growing rapidly in Kenya, and Kenya is actually taking a center stage in leading in the region in terms of digital transformation. From NC4's perspective, like I mentioned, that We are in the security space. That's why we are domiciled at the Ministry of Interior. We look at cybersecurity as national security. Again, we draw this from the fact that the Constitution of Kenya, Chapter 14, makes it very clear that national security is about protecting the Kenyan citizens against internal and external threats, including those that emanate from the cyberspace. Again, we look at the fact that most of you acknowledge that, yes, you don't trust government, but I guess you don't trust government because of what we also confirm that from the national perspective, our cybersecurity maturity status is still low. And this is evidenced from some of the things that you can confirm, that there's low awareness, poor cyber hygiene, we lack structures, there's limited collaboration, we implement vulnerable infrastructures, and so on and so forth. So then that also brings that to the core of what we see as NC4 in terms of the strategic importance of the cyberspace. We all acknowledge that. I hope for many definitions, cyberspace is really the backbone of digital ecosystem. So as NC4, of course, we have a deliberate mission to build a secure and resilient cyberspace through a coordinated approach, while we maximize on the good benefits of the digital economy. In the long term, we look forward to a safe and trusted cyberspace for the people of Kenya. So what we are looking at NC4 is that, of course, Kenya has got a lot of fast-growing digital ecosystem, which has been alluded to by previous speakers. But of concern or to note is that cyberspace is actually bringing a lot of challenges in terms of how we deal with the national security issues. Again, people look at it from technology perspective, but for us, we look at it differently because as a digital superhighway that it creates, it brings the concerns that would really put this country into a compromising situation. We see the cyberspace as providing a platform, where ITs and OTs drive, our rapidly changing industrial revolution and so on, while it's also providing a test bed for new and emerging technologies, including much talked about AI. So at NC4, we focus on identifying, protecting, detecting, responding, recovering, and governance of cybersecurity space. And we do this through many ways. One of the initiatives that is actually ongoing is the development of the national cybersecurity policy. We don't have one at the moment, but at NC4 there's a draft that is being developed, and we'll soon engage you as co-stakeholders to make your inputs in terms of designing our future in cybersecurity national policy. We also have a robust cybersecurity strategy, 2022-2027, addressing many issues of cyber governance, the policies, laws, and frameworks that are required, protection of our critical information infrastructure, the most required element of capacity and capacity building, response to cybersecurity incidents. Of course, the e-citizen attack gave us a challenge, but we thank God that it was managed under the existing frameworks. We're also looking at a lot of partnerships, especially between the government, industry, and academia, because really through coordination is the only way that we are able to deal with the cybersecurity challenges, which are strange, dynamic, and complex to each and every one of us. So, like I mentioned earlier on, that NC4 has also gazetted critical information infrastructure that forms a guideline for all of us to know that what we own, what we manage, what we use as our commercial activity is critical infrastructure and must be protected in the form that it's so required. In March this year, we published, upon approval by Parliament, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Critical Information Infrastructure and Cybercrimes Management Regulations. It is one of a kind and one of the best in the region. And we believe that it has got critical elements that will help us improve the digital trust of our ecosystem. One is to improve the situational awareness through the three-tier cybersecurity operational centers. The other one is about setting standards of protection of critical information infrastructure. We have been surviving by gentleman's agreement on how best to secure our CIIs, but the regulations have brought minimum standards that are now compelling within the legal framework. The the issue of the Chief Information Security Officer, as has been alluded to by my previous speakers. We also have the public key infrastructure, which is also going to improve the digital trust. The issue of capacity building has been emphasized and has been well projected in the regulations to include cybersecurity education, training, awareness, research and innovation, as well as establishment of cybersecurity centers of excellence, which is the Ministry of IC and DE is very passionate about. In terms of collaboration, NC4 as a framework is for a lot of entities, 8 of them, if you not 8, sorry, 9, and many others who have been co-opted locally, and they're mostly entities from security agencies, Attorney General, as well as other key stakeholders. But regionally, I can confirm that we are at the tail end of ratification of the Malabo Convention, which is the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection, which is going to facilitate investigations and prosecution of cybercrimes and data protection challenges in the African region. We are also at advanced stages of consenting to the Convention on Cybercrimes, that is the Budapest Convention, and that should happen before the end of this year. Additionally, the government has also set aside or established mechanisms for reporting cybercrime, one of which is establishment of cybercrime desk at every police station and police post in the country. That is going to really reach out to everyone, including the ones at Mashinani. Lastly, let me mention this, that through some of these initiatives, again, NC4 is not doing all these activities, but these activities will be done through the concerned entities and agencies in the public and private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we heard from Moses from the general side of things. Then Dr. David has talked to us a bit about now cybersecurity. We continue being more specific. Now, apart from cybersecurity, there's also the other big aspect of data. And to you, Bridgette, I know your office is a child that was forced to grow up quite quickly due to the current circumstances. So my question is then, in light of what has been said, what are the key data governance frameworks and policies in Kenya to ensure there's a resilient and secure digital economy?
Okay, thank you, Tevin. Thank you, my fellow panelists. In terms of data governance and how I choose to look at it is privacy, the role of privacy and data protection in ensuring there's a robust data governance framework in the country. And you cannot look at data without privacy. And actually, a quote that comes to mind is one by Bruce Schneier. He says, data is a pollution problem of the information age, and protecting privacy is the environmental challenge. So privacy really is at the core of data governance. And locally, the frameworks that we have in place, first of all, we have the Constitution and Article 31 and 35 on issues of access to information and the right to privacy. The Data Protection Act 2019 enacted to give effect to Article 31 of the Constitution, and it is the act that establishes the ODPC. As I mentioned earlier, the role of the ODPC is focusing on the protection of personal data of data subjects and the right to privacy. The Act outlines the principles of data protection. It sets out the rights of data subjects and obligations of data controllers. Pursuant to the Act, we have a set of 4 regulations. There's the Data Protection General Regulations, which further espouse what is contained in the Act. We have the Data Protection Registration of Data Controllers Regulations as well, which provides now for the mechanisms of registration of data controllers with the office. Then to a regulation that I interact with quite closely in my day-to-day work life is the Data Protection, Complaints Handling, and Enforcement Mechanisms. This provides for the procedure of investigations and complaints handling and enforcement. Then we have the little-known Data Protection Civil Registration Regulations. This specific to civil registration by government. And in addition to the regulations enacted by in place rather, we have issued, the ODPC has issued guidance notes on addressing issues that arise in respect of specific sectors in the industry. So we've issued guidance notes on the health sector, education, communications, digital credit providers, and I'm sure quite a number of these guidance notes are underway. The main purpose of these guidance notes is really just to ensure that what is contained in the Act and the regulations is broken down to what is relatable to specific industries. And in considering the nuances of the specific industries, for instance, how the data controllers and processors that handle the health data, it's important for us to, it was deemed important for us to break it down so that it's more easily consumed by the day-to-day operators of and handlers of this data. So quite apart from that, we have other sector-specific acts and regulations. There's the recently enacted Digital Health Act, enacted in 2023, which enhances confidentiality and security of health data. Of course, provides for mHealth, telemedicine, and e-learning, and data sharing within the medical space. There's, in respect of the financial sector, we have the CBK Act, we have the Banking Act, and specifically CBK guidelines, which make provision for cybersecurity, incident reporting and response. So in all this, security and privacy are the conjoined twins. They cannot be separated. So in terms of creating an enabling environment for these two to coexist, we actually do need that the data and robust data governance framework that actually enables these two to coexist without one, it might sometimes seem that one takes precedence over the other. They need to coexist for there to be a proper data governance framework. Thank you.
Thank you very much. From what I hear, in as much as we've said we are not trust the government so much, they appear to be doing a lot in terms of ensuring that we have a resilient digital economy and to create that trust. So now maybe we'll move on now to industry itself with Mary on that one. In as much as we've heard what's happening in relation to government, when it comes to specifically the fintech sector, which appears to be our North Star in Kenya's digital economy, we've seen some instances where there wasn't really digital resilience. For example, some of our biggest fintech providers, there's a time it went down and everyone was in a panic. Sometimes the banks, we've seen some of these downtimes when it comes to online banking. So my question is, in the fintech sector, what's happening to ensure that this resilience is enhanced and building up from what the government is doing, and how you're taking that and incorporating that in your work?
Thank you very much for that question. So when you look at the fintech industry as a whole, and you're trying to see where do you build resilience, in some cases you have options. Especially in the banking sector, there's multiple banks, so you could actually decide to integrate with multiple banks. The problem is sometimes they're using the same network, so when that network fails, then you will fail too. When you look at the telecom sector, you have very limited opportunities to diversify and to actually protect your business against that. So if they are having problems, you're also going to have the problems yourself. So you can also do something, I guess, these delayed responses where you can buff yourself by creating an expectation of when certain, if you're in the payment sector, when transactions would go through, and you're finding people are giving themselves extra days to settle the clients. But sometimes you're in a situation where you don't have that leverage, so you have to just go offline. And you have to work with your clients to provide offline services. When you look at most of the fintech sector in Kenya, it's still, a lot of it, the information is still offline. Even when you want to fully go digital, you are going to have these bottlenecks where the system can't fully go online. And in a way, it's a good thing because it gives you that security if things fail. But going online is an infrastructure project with many key players in it, from the people who are providing the fiber, from the people who are providing your servers, to now the other players that are actually using your platform. They also need to be online. And then now you can talk about the regulators, the schemes, the industry players. You have payment guys, Visa, MasterCard, or you're doing credit. So you have all these guys. They all need to be online. Everybody needs to understand their role so that you enable the system and the cycle to continue. If one of them breaks, it might break the whole thing. You know, we've seen these kinds of instances. So to protect yourself, sometimes you're limited. And you're limited to the capability of your partners. We are on the right track, I believe, but those kinds of challenges, until we have more options within the ecosystem, we're still going to be subjected to those kinds of limitations.
Thank you very much. And lastly, maybe I'll come to you, Michelle. Amongst all the partners here, you're like I like to see you like the watchman, the one who's supposed to ensure that all these systems are safeguarded. And a week ago, the watchman somewhere decided to press a button to an update. I think we saw it with your competitor, Cloudflare, and what we saw is the watchman knocked everyone off. So with that, I'm curious to learn, what are you doing in terms of monitoring, update, and keeping pace with the digital ecosystem, ensuring that the parties here also, you're ensuring no thief enters into the house? Yeah.
Thank you, Tevin, and to all my panelists. To start with, what happened last week was actually unprecedented. But looking at it from a perspective, it was a software issue. And in an ideal world, as a cybersecurity company, our work is to, of course, protect, detect, and respond. We would be able to test in a tested environment and would be able to roll it out. But in some instances, you roll out something, and again, the system glitches. We also need to remember that in cybersecurity, speed is of the essence. And because speed is of the essence, sometimes we don't have that capability to be able to go through with this. However, at ESET, we do this in a number of ways. I'll start with our proprietary technologies. So we have two proprietary technologies. First and foremost is what we call our ESET license. Our ESET license is, of course, our multi-layered security technology. And this exists of our core technologies. And our core technologies are there during the pre-execution, execution, and post-execution of any upcoming and new threats. Now, the second way we do this is through collaboration with industry. As mentioned by all my panelists, collaboration with industry, of course, public and private, is critical. And so we are a member of the Joint Defense Committee of CISA, which is the American Cyber Defense Agency. We're a member of the Global Forum on Cybersecurity Expertise, as well as a member of the Google App Alliance, which is it's a conglomeration of different sector players, and we aid in protecting the Google App Store. Thirdly, it is, of course, our research and development. So we have our global research and development centers. There are about 13 of them located all over the globe. And through these research centers, we're able to analyze and also look at any upcoming and emerging threats. And what this does, it helps us, of course, this intelligence helps us, of course, develop our products, as well as, most importantly, share this research in the public domain. Now, the ways we share this research, of course, is through our white papers, it's through our blogs, it's through our press releases, it's through conferences such as these, where we come to share our expertise on what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all panelists for keeping time. So we have about 10 minutes for questions. And I'll be taking up the questions that are on Slido. There are quite a number of questions, so I'll just see where we'll reach in. I'll start with the first 5, Then I see if we can do any more questions. So I'll start with the first one that I can see on my side. Are there any initiatives or programs in place to improve financial literacy and awareness among the public, specifically regarding fintech products and services? I think that's for you, Mary. The second question will be, many Kenyans' websites don't have privacy by default. One has to actively opt out instead of actively opting in. What is the ODPC doing about that? Then, still again to the ODPC, what is the success rate of prosecution for complaints made to the ODPC? And is there a way of verifying this? Now, the next question is, I think you're in one. Yes, what specific measures have AFIKs, not sure what AFIKs are, Association of Fintech, okay, Association of Fintechs, suggested to regulators in Kenya to ensure the security and resilience of neo-banking services, particularly in cybersecurity. Then, to you, David, how will cybercrime units at police stations be effective and reliable, given concerns about the overall seriousness with which serious crimes are handled? Yes. And then I'll ask one last one to you, David. What to ODPC and then to David as well. How far has the ODPC gone to implement privacy by default? It's almost like the first one, by issuing guidance and waiting for complaints. And lastly, what are the bounce back mechanisms in place in the case of a cyber attack on government online systems? Maybe I'll have Michelle and David answer that as well.
Okay, thank you for the question. Thank you, Tevin, for further elaborating the question. On the issue of privacy by default, I think it's important to state first that the instances where opt-in and opt-out come in is where consent is a lawful basis for processing, right? So having established a lawful basis, the lawful basis being consent, then the data controller or data processor is obliged to ensure that this consent is specific, informed, freely given, and unambiguous. And to the question, specifically to the question on why most websites require one to actively opt out instead of active opt-in, I wish to first state that the office has issued guidance notes on consent, and they should be available on our website. So these guidance notes set out with examples, situations where consent is required as a lawful basis, specifically on marketing or use of personal data for commercial purposes. So therefore, these guidance notes further elaborate how consent is actually implemented on a day-to-day basis. Where you visit our website and you note that the consent mechanisms are inadequate, we have our complaints and investigations department where you can file your complaints via the website, email, physically. You can always come to the office. We can record your complaint. And we have an investigations regulations and manual that will guide us in investigating this particular website. So quite apart from waiting for complaints, there's actually the guidance notes on consent on this issue of opting in and opting out. There was also a question on the success rate of prosecution of complaints. As I said earlier, there's the Complaints, Investigations and Enforcement Directorate. We have received over 5,000 complaints. We actually do conduct investigations, robust investigations on these particular complaints. A big chunk of it is in respect of digital credit providers. So we actually do have an investigations directorate that will go through these complaints and make a decision which includes remedies such as an enforcement notice, compensation, prosecution, or we dismiss the complaint if at all. So success, as I'd say, is subjective to the recipient. Success can mean differently, depending on who is asking the question. But what I'd want to assure you is that once a complaint is filed with us, we consider it to its very end in accordance with the law.
Thank you. Perhaps I'll move to you, Mary.
Thank you. So the question on the financial inclusion in Kenya and the role of AFIC, Association of Fintechs in Kenya, in working with financial inclusion, I think there is several foundations in the country that have actually approached AFIC to partner in financial inclusion. But what we feel is that among Kenyans, financial inclusion is quite high. I think the missing part is economic inclusion. And by that, I mean what services can be provided to people who are financially included. And financial included means you have an account with a bank and you can get a loan, or you are actually registered with some form of financial institution or mobile money provided. So you find that majority of Kenyans have already crossed that path. So we consider financial inclusion in Kenya to be in the upper 90s or mid-90s percentage in terms of how many people can access financial services. What they do with those financial services is where the gap is. And with fintechs, we feel that fintechs are coming in to fill in that gap. You have the EdTech, you have the other agri-tech, and all these other fintechs coming in to play the role of aggregating or integrating the services that are being provided at the local level, at the consumer level, and bringing them into a digital platform. And that is where I feel that AFIC, in working with the ecosystem players, is actually bringing the awareness of these kinds of services availability to the community. Now, on the second one, on the cybersecurity and the neobanks, I think in Kenya, the Central Bank of Kenya, when it comes to neobanks, they usually rank these kind of in two sectors. They don't really call them neobanks. They have what they call microfinance. And so you can get a license as a microfinance. And then within the microfinance, there is policy and regulation that guides you regarding cybersecurity and what needs to be implemented. And on a regular basis, you have to file reports. They can come in and audit and see if you're meeting those requirements of cybersecurity as a neobank. The other part, too, that they give licenses that you could say is a neobank is on the digital credit providers, and I believe they've done quite a number of those. There's close to 50 of them that they've given licenses, and this is where on the cybersecurity, they actually are quite stringent on it. They do provide a very high bar that these organizations, before they get certified, that they have to meet, and especially on things also in regards to data sharing and things like that.
Thank you. To you, David, 1 minute. The questions that were.
On the issue of the effectiveness of the cybercrimes desk at the police stations and posts, I want to say that this initiative came out of feedback that the public participation exercise noted that the victims of cybercrimes really want the reporting to be as near them as possible. So that is one of the ways. Secondly is that these desks shall be manned by competent and qualified police officers in cybercrimes and cybersecurity. Already a lot of capacity building is ongoing in that space to make sure that the nature of cybercrimes, which is complex to many people, shall be addressed by competent police officers. Again, there is an elaborate reporting framework which also complements the existing laws and regulations that will enable effective investigations, prosecution of suspected cyber criminals that will be reported through these stations. Again, there's the interesting element of anonymous reporting given that many citizens fear reporting some cyber crimes because of the sensitivity of their nature. So that platform for anonymous reporting will provide alternative channels for reporting such kind of crimes. Again, there's a lot of capacity building within the officers of the court so that they will be effectively prosecuting and dealing with the cyber crimes within the corridors of court. Our National Police Service also has adequate capacity for investigations as well as dealing with forensic expertise whenever there is need. So I think if well embraced by all of us, I think it will be a good thing and it will enable more reporting and more prosecution of cyber criminals.
Perhaps, David, just a clarification. Are the offices and the website you've talked about, are they active or are they being set up? Maybe that's good to clarify.
They're being set up because the legal instrument was just selected the other day.
Okay. So I'll move to you, Michelle, maybe to also, if you have anything to say in relation to that as well. And then from here, I'll let all of you give 10-second closing remarks or statements, closing statements, starting here, Michelle.
I think David, my fellow panelist, has covered it all. But of course, in terms of in my closing statements, what I would continue to encourage, even as a vendor, is we would like to encourage a lot of collaboration across both the public and the private sector, because cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue. It is actually a societal issue. It affects each and every one of us, and each and every one of us has a part to play. So continuous collaboration is how we can best fully utilize the digital space safely.
Any closing remark?
The government is committed to having a resilient cyberspace because that is really embedded in the government's agenda, of bottom-up economic transformation agenda, which is digitally driven. So all of us need to collaborate in this space and do what we need to do to secure this space from the industry, academia, and government entities, so that we all have a secure cyberspace that can guarantee a thriving digital economy. And let's not forget that cybersecurity is national security. Thank you.
One statement.
I would like to say that the Associations of Fintechs in Kenya is a fairly new organization, and we have been lacking that kind of networking center for fintechs. And so anyone in the space of fintechs or would like to learn more of how they can be members in the Fintech Associations of Kenya, you can check out their website, which is afic.or.ke, and we are happy to work with different organizations to help grow the financial sector for the private industry in Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think for me is to say all players have a role to play to secure our digital economy. For government, as we've seen, is the framework and enforcement. For private sector to do investments in cybersecurity. For civil society to play a role in reaching vulnerable groups and support educational efforts. And as individuals also, we have a responsibility to promote cyber hygiene.
Just to re-emphasize on multi-stakeholder collaboration, government, private sector, with the rights of the data subject playing a central role in this collaboration and in innovating. Privacy is, I think, now a marketing, it gives you a marketing edge. And I'd like to encourage all data controllers and processors to prioritize the privacy of the data subject, even as we continue to innovate and see how we can work together in really building the digital economy locally and how we'll collaborate even across the continent and internationally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, we've come to the end of our panel. My name is Tevin Mwenda. I forgot to introduce myself. I was your moderator for this panel, and I hope it's made you trust the government at least 1%. How many now have a bit of trust with government from what they're doing? Okay, private sector, at least fintech sector. We're still not yet there. Okay, cybersecurity companies. Okay, we will continue. At least now the hands are going up. Even one is still a win. So thank you very much and have a good lunch.